This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we return now to the final part of my interview with the family of Rachel Corrie, as their civil lawsuit against Israel goes to court today, suing Israel for the unlawful death of their daughter, Rachel. Rachel's father, Craig Corrie, explained the importance of American officials showing interest in the case.
When we're talking about U.S. officials and U.S. government showing some interest in this case, Congressman Brian Barrett, who is our congressman and was the congressman for Rachel when she was killed, and it was in his office that we were right after Rachel was killed. He has now written a letter to the judge and is asking that he be able to testify in the case, come to Israel overnight, but he needs that to be him to be heard on either Sunday the 21st or Monday the 22nd, because of course there are votes in Congress and all that. But it's pretty amazing to me that a U.S. congressman would be willing to take a red-eye to Israel, come and testify, and then pop back onto a red-eye back to Washington, D.C. And you know, my thanks go out to the congressman. I hope he's allowed to do that, but his willingness to do it is just flooring.
It's very interesting. He also went to Gaza, right, along with Keith Ellison, the congressman.
He just got back, actually, a couple of weeks ago from his third trip to Gaza. And so you can see with him, because he's somebody that we now have, you know, had personal contact with over a number of years, and he got there and saw, you know, worse than Rachel saw, but he got there and saw it, and it was, as his chief of staff said, life-changing, and you can see that in what he writes and says about it.
You'll also be there as Tristan Anderson continues to well, undergo rehabilitation. He's in a very serious state. The American citizen who was photographing protests, who was shot by the Israelis. Will you be visiting him? Did you know him?
We didn't know Tristan Anderson. Craig and I were in Cairo last year on March 14th, just 2 days before the 6th anniversary of Rachel's killing, when we got word about what had happened to Tristan.
And what exactly happened?
He was shot with a high-velocity tear gas canister when he was at a demonstration, I believe in the Lane village. And he has been, you know, in treatment ever since, very, very seriously injured. I don't know the status. I hope we have talked to his parents, and my understanding is that there are still family members there. I know Tristan is still there, and we hope to be able to connect with them when we're in Israel. But one of the connections, I think, about accountability for Rachel that I hope others will make is to what's happened to nonviolent human rights observers and activists, Palestinian, Israeli, and international, in the West Bank and elsewhere. There's been an assault on these people, and it continues. We have friends from Palestinian friends who were that we met at demonstrations, or we met in Israel in the West Bank, who have made the decision to non-violently resist what's happening to their villages with their land being taken, because they believe that's the best path for their children. And some of those people have been imprisoned in the past year because of their activity in nonviolent efforts. And I think we have to challenge that, and I hope people will be making the connections between what happened to Rachel and that issue.
I'd just quickly like to point out, one of my frustrations in all the work that we did in Congress was that I think we thought in the initial days after Rachel was killed, if the U.S. government took a very strong stance against her killing, that perhaps it would have given some more protection to the others, to U.S. citizens that are traveling in that region. And what we know is that shortly after Rachel was killed, Tom Herndl, who was a British peace activist, was killed in the same 2-mile stretch of Rafah, Gaza. Then there was James Miller, who was a British reporter that was also shot and killed in that same 2-mile stretch. On the U.S. side, we had Brian Avery in the West Bank, who was severely injured when he was shot in the face by the IDF. And now we have Tristan Anderson. And some of the frustration was that if there was accountability in Rachel's case, I wonder how many of those other cases would not have happened. I do like to point out that in the case of the British citizens, that the British government took a very strong stance against those killings. In the case of Tom Herndl, they actually managed to get a criminal conviction, and much of that came by the work of the family and the work of the UK government to put pressure on Israel to do a credible investigation. In the case of James Miller, that criminal process did not occur. It was very similar to our case. They closed the case without bringing charges. But the British government continued to push so that there would be basically a damages claim. I believe it was about $2.5 million to that family. And I don't think it's about the dollar figure, but it's about saying that there was something very wrong that went on in that case. Ian Hook was another British citizen that they did not get. He was killed as well, and they did not get a criminal conviction in that case. But again, that damages claim does say that the U.S. government believed that there should be accountability in that case. And I just think that the U.S. government certainly has the ability to push for the rights of their citizens and the safety of their citizens as hard as the UK